Alright, in this video, I want to talk about my experience of actually waking up to my salvation. I don't know how else to put it. This is the best words I can say because a while ago, I'm going to say it's been uh, 10, 12 years, I guess, since it happened where I came to Jesus. But when I did, I was studying the Bible and I started with the Gospels and then I read the Bible through. And my takeaway was to follow the law. I became very legalistic and thinking following the letter of the law proved my salvation, even though basically what I was doing was trying to earn my salvation. But I was telling myself, by doing this, I'm proving my salvation. And I ended up becoming a Seventh-day Adventist because they were hardcore teaching about the law and obedience to the Ten Commandments. And I thought, other Christians were foolish, like they think like the Ten Commandments are done away with. But I was a babe in Christ, and had to go through the learning process there. And I did not have what would be considered the fruit of the Spirit. And you know what? I'm going to actually bring that up right here. Let's go to Bible Hub and show the fruit of the Spirit real quick, because I noticed, in hindsight here, that I did not have the fruit of the Spirit. We go to Galatians 5:22, and let's go to the KJV. And 22, but the fruit of the Spirit is love. This I thought I had because, the commandments, the first four of the Ten Commandments is loving God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And the next six are loving your fellow man as yourself. So I thought, keeping the letter of the law, I had this love, but it was more just an outward show. Inwardly, it was not like that, because I did not really have joy, and that led to me falling away eventually, where for a while I started going off, and I ended up getting suckered into Gnosticism. But anyway, I did not have peace because anytime I did not keep the commandments, I figured I'm lost and I deserve punishment and I'm not right with God. I definitely wasn't long suffering. I was very judgmental. Gentleness, not really. Maybe a little bit, but not really. Goodness, uh, yeah, a bit of goodness, but it was more fake. You do things because you're trying to obey the commandments, not because you actually have goodness within your heart. Faith, a little bit of faith, because I thought that I could keep the commandments because of my faith in God, that with Jesus I can do anything. So eventually I'm going to keep the law, right? Meekness, not so much, because you start thinking a little bit like you're better than other people because you know God and you're going to keep the commandments and you're closer to God than they are. I didn't realize I was being a Pharisee, right? Temperance, uh, like discipline, I had a bit of this because very, very hardcore discipline compared to a lot of people. So there was a little bit of that, but that was probably just my own willpower, uh, and it, wasn't perfect. I didn't master it, so yeah, there's nothing to gloat in with this. But for the most part, none of this, right? And now I have this. I have this, and this is like growing. I have faith that Jesus did it all. It paid for my sin, and that I may not be perfect in this life, but my soul is separated from my flesh now, where my flesh does not have mastery over me, but it sometimes wins. And that it's okay, but it's not okay. It's okay in the fact that I'm still saved, even though my flesh still wins here and there, but it's not okay to just let that dominate, be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, because I'm forgiven. It does matter, but it doesn't mean I'm going to lose my salvation, because my soul is saved, but my body is not, and I'm stuck with this body. And I can see now how my body had mastery over me. My flesh, my carnal nature, was in charge of my soul, and I was just going along for the ride, and my body wanted to prove to God that I could be just and I could be perfect, and ultimately failed, and then turned on God and started to go into stuff like Gnosticism and whatnot, and basically doing my own thing. And then God just dragged me back and opened up my eyes. And I can connect a little bit with Paul, where he's saying the scales fell off his eyes, and I start to connect more with what he was saying, because there was a period in time where I thought Paul was a false apostle, because I look at Jesus talking about not one crossing of a T or dotting of an I, the law is going to change, and he's not here to go get away with the law. And then Paul's basically teaching some other gospel, is how I was seeing it. But now I can see it, I can feel it, and I have such joy and peace, and it's allowing me to actually be patient with God's work, knowing it took this long for him to bring me along to this point, and to be patient with others. And it's crazy. It's crazy. But what I wanted to get into in this video was what helped this click was something I heard a pastor, Peter Ruckman, bring up. And it's like odd that I've never seen this. It's like you can keep reading the Bible, even if you just read one of the short epistles of like to the Galatians or Ephesians or 1st, 2nd, or 3rd John, and you just keep reading that over and over. It's like every time you read it, there's something else that you didn't see, and something you didn't grasp, right? Or sometimes you read Galatians, and then after you read some other book in the Bible, and then you read Galatians again, you see all the connections, and it's just crazy. But anyway, this verse here is what made it click. It says here, whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. Give none offense, neither to Jews, nor to the Gentiles, nor to the church of God. And I don't know if this is clicking with you, but there's 3 groups of people in the Bible. There's the Jews, the Gentiles, and then the church of God. The church of God is not the Jews, it's not the Gentiles, but it's a mixture. Those who have faith that are Jews and Gentiles can become the church of God. There is no Jew or Gentile in the church of God. But outside of the church of God, there's Jews and there's Gentiles. And I never really saw that. I always saw that true Israel, was by faith, and that a lot of them revealed that they didn't have that faith, so they were cut off, and Israel continued into the church of God, into Christianity. But now, looking at this and all the other stuff in the Bible that I've read, I can see now that there's parts that are talking to the Jews, there's parts that are reference to the Gentiles, and then there's the Christians. because you got what Paul talks about, the covenant given to Abraham, where there is no condition. It's just something they take by faith, which is what Christians are a part of. The covenant by faith, where it has no condition on your part other than you just believe God. Just have faith in Him that He's going to do what He's going to do. And with the Jews, they were given a covenant that had conditions. They had to do all these things, and then God would be a God to them. And if not, He would basically be an adversary to them. And the Gentiles, they're just the other nations who aren't Jews, and they don't have the faith to be put into the church of God. So they're the people that they don't have the knowledge that are given to the Jews, and they don't have the faith of the church of God. So seeing that, now I can see what a lot of the other Christians have seen all along. But for me, it just never really clicked. I was just like, well, no, the law is always there, Because the way I saw it was, I would ask a Christian, well, can you have another God besides God? They say no. I'm like, well, can you make an idol? No. Can you take the Lord's name in vain? No. Oh, can you dishonor your parents? No. Can you lie, steal, commit adultery, and covet, and what have you? No, 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 no. Then I'm like, well, so the law still stands. I'm like, what about the Sabbath? Oh, yeah, whatever about the Sabbath. So I'm just like, so all these stand, but not the Sabbath? And so to me, it was like, you're saying the law still stands, but you don't really care about it. But now I can see that there's the letter of the law, there's the spirit of the law, and I can see that by the grace of God, you just have to have faith in Jesus and your soul saved, and then you can go do whatever you want, even if you want to be a selfish asshole and go live in the world and take your temporary reward here on earth and live it up and become rich and full of gluttony and laziness and sex and all that stuff. But you're still saved. But you're going to have no reward for you in heaven. Yeah, you're saved, but you're going to have nothing with you. And I can only imagine what heavenly rewards are. The main one I can think of is just your family and friends and those that you care about. Like if you live a life to yourself and just take it up now, then they may see that influence and they may never come to Jesus. And you're going to have to deal with that you're saved and you lived it up, and the people you care about, because of your influence, they never accepted Jesus. I think that would be pretty rough. Because I think that would be a great reward that those you care about and that you worry about, that they haven't accepted Jesus and that you can't force them to accept Jesus, you can't convince them to accept Jesus, that because of your life, the Holy Ghost worked on them and saved their ass. But anyway, something else that got me to connect with Paul a little bit was fasting. I'm not saying you have to fast. It's just something I've done and I do. And I started doing it because of health and because of wanting to dominate my flesh, my carnal nature. I want to put it in subjection to me. I don't want it to control me. And it has a lot of influence, and sometimes it gets the better of me. And fasting, I think, is a great way to discipline the body and put it in its place, to know that you're in charge, right? And it's good for your health because when you fast, not like forever, as people who've done some long fast, but just something like a 3 to 7 day fast helps your body detox, heal, and improve in many ways. It helps boost your natural hormones and your HGH, which helps keep your body in tip-top condition. It clears out all the, like I said, toxins and stuff in there, and boost your energy levels, especially when you start eating again. You feel amazing. Food tastes so much better and so much more enjoyable. And doing it made me see what Paul was talking about, where the flesh has such a pull on you that he wants to be separated from it. Because the flesh wants to do something, and I'm not saying eating is sin, but I'm going to use it as a metaphor here, right? That my body wants to eat, right? So take that as my body wants to sin. And eating is enjoyable, especially if you can eat something you really like to eat. It is enjoyable to do so. And it's filling, it's satisfying. There's so much pleasure attached to the eating, and in this case, sin. But it's a two-edged sword, because even if you deny the pleasure, which in some cases it's easy to deny some simple pleasure, but when it comes to a sin, you deny yourself this pleasure, and now you have to deal with some suffering. Because denying yourself that, you get hunger pains, and your body aches. Your body keeps urging you to eat. So not only do you not get the pleasure, which is something you could probably bear, like, okay, I'm not going to have the pleasure, but now you get to actually suffer. Your body is going to be pulling you and urging you to do what you don't want to do. And it's just like what Paul talked about with sin. There's your soul that doesn't want to sin, but your flesh that you're attached to wants to. And if you master that and force it not to, it's suffering. And I can see that now. I get it. It makes sense, and it makes sense as fasting. The longest I've gone is 7 days, and there's a period in the middle, like at the end of the second day and the third day, where lower back hurts, knee hurts. There's some pain for a while, and then when you get past that, you start to overcome that, and the pain goes away, and the hunger doesn't really bother you anymore. And you could probably go longer than 7 days if you wanted to. If you ever get past that, it's like that third, fourth day, all of a sudden your body changes and you can keep going for quite a while. Um, Something you may want to look into, I don't know. But it's actually pretty good for your health to do that every now and then. But anyway, getting a little bit off there. It just showed me the two-edged sword. And I like when I put in the search bar here, I put pleasure and suffering, and it says suffering for Jesus is temporary, pleasure in Jesus is eternal. Present suffering, future glory. Those are the two ones that stuck out as soon as I put this up. Something to keep your mind on is everything is temporary in this world. So when something pleasurable is going on, take your time and enjoy it. Well, even if it's just a meal, it's not going to last that long. And you're going to be hungry again later. You're basically going to forget about it for the most part, and you're going to want to eat again. But that suffering of wanting to eat and being hungry, that's temporary as well too. You stub your toe, it hurts, and it sucks, but the pain goes away. And, the pleasure of enjoying all kinds of things in this world, it fades. So I think you're getting the point, When you're suffering, just focus on, well, this is going to eventually end, right? And the heavenly things will never end. They'll be forever. And I think the tough thing is to the thoughts, to actually focus on that, because it's so easy to just the flesh. It will keep telling you about all this other shit and distracting you, but it's starting to become more clear. I grasp my salvation. It's not my body; it's the soul that is saved, and his body is it's sinful, and I'm attached to it. And I get now what Paul's talking about, wanting to be separated from it, because it's just in the flesh you obey this law of sin, but in the spirit you obey God. And it's kind of confusing because the body will condemn you. It wars against the spirit. It wants to think that you're not saved, or you're some kind of piece of shit and God hates you because you sinned. But that's not true. It's your flesh, and you got to fight it. But you got to be patient with God's work on you. You got to be patient with yourself and patient with others. And it's actually a good thing. You should be thankful for it, because if you didn't have to deal with that, you wouldn't focus on God so much. You wouldn't be seeking Him and praying and wanting to be helped and wanting to be freed, and you wouldn't be grasping the situation fully. You wouldn't have such compassion for others and patience and sympathy for them. It's a good thing to go through the suffering. It changes you and allows you to connect with God in a different way, to connect with others in a different way. So everything that happens to you, good or bad, you should be thankful for it. Not just, the good things. The bad things, they give you a lot, and sometimes they give you more than the good things. But I think I said everything I wanted to say in this to get it all out off my chest here. So thanks for watching, and take care.